about working harder, and it's not about working smarter. It's about working right. I'll tell you this from my own personal experience when I was a ballroom dancer, right? I know it's hard to believe that this guy who's just sitting behind a desk, he's got some hip moves down here. You can't see them, but I'm doing them right now. But it's hard to believe that actually was one of the nation's top amateur ballroom dancers 20 years, 20 pounds ago. But I'll tell you, I worked really hard at it. Like I actually was a late bloomer. I started dancing when I was 18 years old. And then eventually I just kept working hard at it. I really just did it because it was fun. Okay, not to mention it's fun just dancing with the girls in general, and they think you're hot because you can actually dance. So that's what motivated me as an 18-year-old hormonal boy to keep going. So I was working hard at it, and eventually I started working smart by learning more dance moves and the steps and the mechanics of it. But when I got to the next university that I was at here in Utah, and I was on this world championship team, one of the instructors said, listen, Chris, you're good, but you're not great. If you just change this one thing in your dancing, it'll make a difference. You'll go from maybe making quarterfinals at nationals to maybe even making semifinals or finals. And who knows, even those smaller competitions, you might even win. And so she started working with me on it. She started saying, listen, Chris, like you've got the steps, you've worked hard at this, but now you got to do this right. Fix your center, fix your core of gravity, your core of, your center here, right? This thing, not this, but my core. Focusing on that so that I can actually dance better. What happened is I had sharper moves. Everything worked better. In fact, the steps that I was doing now looked better. And as a result, I actually started winning some of those competitions. So it's not about working harder or smarter. I could have kept doing those same steps and working hard as heck forever doing those things. But what made all the difference is that I started doing it right, and that accelerated my progress. And that's true for you too, is that you want to make sure when you're dealing with money, you're doing it right. You focus on the right principles, not just the strategies. Everybody wants to know the strategies. They want to work smarter, and that's good. But if you don't know the right principles to make those strategies work, it doesn't matter. You can do those strategies until you're blue in the face, do them the rest of your life, and still wonder why it's not working for you like it's working for these other people or like it's worked for me. You've got to understand these core principles. So I'm going to give you a few of these principles here that will help with that too. Here's the secret. Here's the core principle. If you get nothing else from this, that'll help you work right. The secret to more money is create value. How do you go about adding value? How do you create, as I asked myself early on when I started learning these principles too, is how do I create that win-win for people? How do I give them what they want? We have Jim Rohn always saying, if you want to get more of what you want, you got to give people what they want. Well, that's true too. That's true in life and in business, is that how do you go about giving people what they want? How do you add value? How do you serve people? How do you solve problems for people in a way that money is just a natural byproduct of exchange for that service, for that solution that you're offering? That's the key. Heck, by the way, if you're a business owner, this is like the number one thing you've got to remember and drive home and always focus on. Because this is the easiest number one key secret of success in business too, is doing that. And this is true even in investing. People will say, well, what does that have to do with like real estate investing, for example? Well, it has everything to do with it. When you look at real estate investing, you want to know, how is this investment creating value? How is this actually solving a problem or doing something? So if I buy a rental property, am I buying a property that people want? Is it a place that they actually want to live and call home? If so, great. If you're a slumlord and you have this piece of turd property, yeah, you're not going to make much money, if anything at all, because you're not trying to focus on the person. The people are the real asset, not the thing. If you understand that, everything becomes easier with investing. Man, it was a game changer for me, who was a financial advisor, teach people it was always about the strategy and the money. It's not. It's about the people behind it. That's the key to making more money. Now, if you want to know another way to do this too, if you really want to do something that's different, even though this is becoming more common, is start a side hustle. Right? A side hustle could be a great way to be able to increase your cash right now, especially if you're a W-2 employee. If you're somebody who has a salary or a normal wage, the problem is that if you want tax advantages, there really aren't any for you. I mean, other than having a bunch of children and having a mortgage, you really, and donating money to charity, you really don't have anything else to help you save money, right? So having a side hustle can be a great way to not only get additional tax savings on things you're already spending money for, but it also allows you to earn more income on the side and giving you these multiple streams that you can then put away to generate more additional streams of income. Understand that the side hustle is not the end. The side hustle could be the means to the end to generating more passive income. And so I'll tell you, I mean, if you don't want to have to work hard your entire life, starting a side hustle, yes, it does require some work, but that side hustle may not have to be. An easy way to start a side hustle is pick a hobby. If you're already doing photography, for example, why not do some photography where maybe you sell images? Maybe you sell images for dirt cheap, on websites and things like that. Maybe you even offer that stuff on your website. You can even do things if it's coaching or consulting, right? Maybe you know something. I have many clients that are in the IT industry that also do consulting work on the side and make some money there too. And the great thing is, once you get that side hustle, you start making money from that, you set up like corporations, like LLCs or S Corps or whatever it might be, and then now you start getting these additional tax benefits. So you get to keep more of what you make, but you also can adjust your income at your job. I'll give you a little bonus tip here. This is one thing I did early on when I started to have my own side hustle. When I started to get into financial advising, I was still working my full-time job. What I realized though is because I was getting all the tax write-offs, because I could write off my cell phone that I was using for my business purposes. I was writing off my internet. I was writing off a lot of my travel and gas and mileage and everything else. I mean, I was writing off a ton of stuff. I realized that, especially in the beginning, I'm not even profitable in that business. I can use those losses from my business carried over to my active income. So what does that mean I can do? That means I can raise those deductibles that I have on my paycheck stubs. Well, when I raised my deductibles on my paycheck stubs, I even raised up to like 10. I'm not giving tax advice, just so you know. That's my disclaimer. No tax advice here. But I raised my deductibles up to 10, even though I only had a family of 3, including myself. I'd raise up to 10 because I knew that with all the write-offs, I would be able to have still a tax return. So I would take home less of a tax return, but take more money home each and every month, allowing me to have more money to save and invest. And that's the key thing, guys, is that ultimately what this comes down to is being a wise steward of your money. What you don't want to do is take all this money that you work so hard for and then gamble it away. Like you start throwing it to the stock markets, or you start throwing it to crypto and things like that, thinking, I'm going to make it big. This is my answer to get rich quick. Or I'm going to throw into this next little business venture that maybe has not been proven for you to be able to work at all. If you do that kind of stuff, you're going to be taking some gambling, and that's not being a wise steward of your money. That's where you have that rubber band effect. You grow your money and then it shrinks. You grow it and it shrinks. It's just like a rubber band. You don't want to do that. You want to keep your money growing and going beyond, and then that starts to generate more income. And so make sure you're a wise steward of your money. Investing, if you're going to take that money and start to build that savings, put it in a great safe place. It could be a bank account, although banks may not be safe anymore. You can use infinite banking as a way to kind of store your money, keep it secure so you don't lose it. Guaranteed never to lose money. Great place you can store it. There's like those infinite banking policies, which we have lots of videos on in this channel. But you can also take that money and you can even use it to invest, but buy real assets. It could be buying real estate and things like that that often will, historically speaking, hold its value. Even if it goes down, even better if it's not just holding its value, but it even generates cash flow. And that really leads to my fifth and final point here, is that when you save this money, invest it for cash flow. Generate multiple streams of passive income. And so real estate is one of those great places you could do, and it's not just buying a rental in your backyard. In fact, I'm going to probably recommend you don't do that, because usually you can buy rentals in other places around the country that'll probably be better than in your own town or city that you live in. And so you want to make sure if you're going to buy that, it could be rentals, but you can invest in things like different types of real estate based funds, not REITs, like with your mutual fund money managers and financial advisors, but actual real estate where you have assets backing it up. You can do those kind of investments and they'll generate cash flow for you, making a massive difference in your life, allowing you so that you work because you want to, not because you have to. And that is ultimately how you can work not just harder, and you're not working harder anymore, and you're working better than smarter, you're working it right. Because when you have that cash flow coming in, that is when you know you're doing it right. So guys, I would love to hear your ideas of what you're doing. Tell me in the comments below. And you know what? And keep checking out this series. To stop doing whatever you're doing wrong, check out this series. There's other great videos that I want to make sure you do it right.